Are there rappers out there that you love who fell off and you want them back? Let's talk about it.
Books, rhymes, and life.
Welcome to Books, Rhymes, and Life. Just some old heads talking hip hop on the best show in America where HOAs are harder to deal with than street gangs. While you're here, go ahead and lay hands on those like and subscribe buttons and join the Be Our Real team and tap in with us every week. I'm your man, Uncle Chad. With me, as always, is the baddest man in Texas since Pancho Villa, Big Absolute. And tonight we're going to dig into that group of rappers that we all liked who fell off too soon for some reason, and we just want them back. BA, I know you got some of those rappers in your pocket, man. Tell me
My
somebody.
guy I'm gonna start with, man, was a victim of circumstance, I believe. And earlier I said it, it was kind of a twofold situation. You can't adapt or stylistic. But I think the other thing is what we don't see now is the crew, right? We don't see the conglomerate of MCs that are grouped together, that do projects together. They do solo projects. They feed off one another. They feature on one another. Like, we don't see that much now. I mean, we see features, but not like we are, Rough Riders. We are Flip Mode. You don't see that. And some of these MCs that we all grew to love fell in the cracks with that. And my guy that I'm gonna come out with now was the person I felt like should have been the heir apparent to the St. Lunatics, my man Murphy Lee. Skill-wise, ridiculous. Murphy, I mean, I know Nelly's Nelly and Nelly's the star, but as far as bar for bar, I'm not sure Murph wasn't the better MC lyrically. Style, his flow, his delivery, his metaphors, like he was just a phenomenal MC. And it looked like we were about to get a Murphy Lee solo career that could have went down in the books. And then he pulled a Harry Houdini on us. And poof. I know there was some fallout in the St. Lunatics, and I won't get into that because that ain't my business. I wonder if that fallout devastated more than just the group itself. I mean, you knew Nelly would survive because Nelly established himself before we knew of the St. Lunatics globally or nationwide. It doesn't seem like anybody else survived that fallout. And my question is, like, where you at, Murph? Murph third. Like, where you at, dog? We miss you over here. Real hip-hop fans miss you. I don't mean Midwest fans. Real hip-hop fans miss Murphy Lee. And if you still don't, you lying. Because that dude was the truth. Who you got? Who you got on?
But for me, man, I've been thinking about the 90s a lot lately. And I guess it's a group. I thought about one particular rapper just because you see him more. And I guess it might be the group in general I miss. But Treach and Naughty by Nature, man. I know groups never stay together that long, but man, Naughty by Nature was such a big part of the 90s, man. With those first two albums they did, like 1993. I love that album so much. And Treach, I don't know, like it felt like Treach was one of those rappers that got a lot of respect within the industry. Other rappers, DJs, producers, people respected Treach in the industry, but fans, he didn't get the recognition from fans that I felt like he deserved as an MC by himself, because Treach had bars, man. I mean, Treach put a lot of thought into what he did, and lyrically, he had the schemes to compete with the guys he was competing with at that time, which were a lot of other dope MCs. They had songs that they could still be lyrical on OPP. Like there's still lyrical moments in the middle of OPP, as made for radio as that song obviously was. There's still lyrical runs in the middle of it that make that like such a beautiful hip hop song.
I mean, could you imagine? And I know he didn't do it by himself, but just the concept for a second. OPP as a concept. OPP, how can I explain it? Let's take it frame by frame it. To have you all jumping, let's say it's O is for other, P is for people. The last P where that's not that simple, right? Let's talk about it. And I think Treach was a victim of being what we all wish people would be if you start this thing with your friend. Treach was afraid to the end. Like everybody talks about Busta and Spliff Star, how Busta does nothing without Spliff, right? Spliff goes everywhere Busta goes. Well, I think in the case of Naughty by Nature, Treach was the same way with Vinny. He didn't have a solo thing because he didn't see himself as a solo. He's seen himself, hey, it's me, KG, and Vin, man. And we are Naughty by Nature. Take us like this. But man, that dude within that framework had so it's on hip hop some moments. Guardian Grill, Striker. First of all, if you never heard Strike a Nerve off that first album, quit.
Yeah.
If hip hop was a job, you never heard Strike a Nerve, quit. Turn in your resignation. You're right. I don't care how old you are. You can be 12. Get on Spotify. Find Naughty by Nature. Listen to Strike a Nerve or quit.
Absolutely. Always happy to give Treach his flowers. So who else you got on your list, man?
I mean, since we talking stylistics, again, one of those rappers I talked about earlier, who I don't think his style faded, but I just think people aren't checking for it like they did, which is Twista, man. This dude, I remember when he was tongue twister. This dude gave us an ear. You know, we all think of, well, I won't say we all, these young cats, you know, when they think of Chicago rap, the first person they think of is Kanye, right? Some of them may think of Common. If you're a little more seasoned, you know about Twista, Crucial Conflict, The Brat, like you know that sound, but that for him to be able to fit what he can fit. So it's different to rap fast. A lot of people can rap fast with filler, but if you listen, Twista he'll give you filler. He fits bars into half-second spaces that people can't fit into full second spaces. He is fitting words into spots that shouldn't. And if you don't think this dude lyrically goated, lyrically, there's a song on his album Kamikaze called Pimp On. That's all I'm gonna say.
First of all, that album, Kamikaze, is an album.
That's all I'm saying.
That album is a whole album. That album is a grown man as an album.
That's right at bars, something you got to deal with. In the words of my man T-Rex. Kamikaze
is a grown man album.
Again, quit. If you don't know, quit.
Because he switched up his style enough in that album. Like he even went with a Southern style on one of his beats, and I really like that track, man. He was really doing it on Kamikaze.
He gave us Pimp On, Overnight Celebrity, Slow Jam. Like he gave us
Kill 'em all.
Kamikaze. Yeah, he gave us on Kamikaze. It's hard to say. I think collectively it was his best album. Collectively,
yeah.
I won't say that the best song he's ever did or the best verse he's ever did came off of that, because I'm still a little partial to Po Pimpin' 1 and 2 myself personally. Spitting with a mouthful of poker chips. I'm still a little biased to Po Pimpin'. As an album, as a project, that was The Arrival. And if you don't know anything about Twista, you don't know anything about his catalog or his style, start there. Right? Start there and then dabble on both sides. Ferocious. Like he's got some heat, but start at Kamikaze and then come talk to.
All right, I got one for you. And stay with me. Stay with me here. Stay with me here.
Fat Joe. I ain't seen Fat Joe the rapper in a while.
No, I know all of y'all out there watching this are like, Fat Joe just dropped an album this month. I know. Stay with me. I'm going somewhere with this, I promise. He's got like 11 albums, I think, 11 solo albums. I miss the old Fat Joe.
You mean Jealous One's Envy?
Yeah, those are his first 2 albums. Were 2 albums that I was like, okay, this dude is going to be a problem solo. Because I had heard the Digging in the Crate stuff. I'd heard him on mixtapes. I knew that he had bars. I liked his style. And so I knew he had bars when he came out. But those first 2 albums were the kind of highly rated albums that I thought about, okay, this guy he could have a career, like he could have a real career.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
then somewhere along the way, he stopped doing that. It felt like it was around the time the pun died, but I'm not gonna tie it to that. I don't want to tie it to that at all, other than around that time frame, because I've heard people say that, that pun might have been a ghostwriter. I don't believe that. I don't necessarily care for all intents and purposes. What I'm saying is around that time, he just started, I think he found a formula in one or two of those songs that he did on those first two albums that he really liked in a song, and he just started doing a lot of those songs. And
Yeah.
there was commercial success to those songs. And I think he leaned a lot into that for a while until I just got disinterested in it.
I'm gonna lean into the Big Pun thing a little bit, but not for the sake of ghostwriting. I think when Big Pun died, his reason for being an artist or being an MC, rapper, whatever you want to call it, changed. And he went through a period where he mourned his friend and his music wasn't the same. I think
Yeah, that's
Pun
fair.
being around was able to get something out of Joe that hasn't been there since Pun. And please, audience, remember, I have this for a reason.
A shade
So,
mine.
so what I'm about to say, this isn't shade because I respect the man's place in hip hop and I would never take it from him. But I believe the formula you were referring to for Pun with the commercial success was that Violators murdering Ja Rule formula. And that formula is a successful formula. That is a financially successful formula. And if you are a
Yeah.
record exec and as an artist, your goal is to make a shit ton of money.
It's a safe bet for an executive, so they're gonna
It's-
go for that every time.
So it's extremely lucrative, it's extremely successful. So when my man Unc says I miss Fat Joe, what we're talking about is that pocket pre-pun and right after pun, that right after pun period lasted too long for real Joe fans.
Yeah.
For you haters who are going to be haters. We just dropped the project. Y'all ain't listening. We listening. And trust me, I mean, it doesn't. And I was going to say it doesn't, but we hope that way. And that's just the way it is. So when I was all like, I ain't heard that dude in a while, that's when I ain't heard that Joe, jealous ones envy.
Yeah, I love the guy. I was not hating on that man in any way whatsoever. I love his music. I would love to get it back to the way it used to be, but a lot of things happen. That's the way it works.
It
But
is
I
what
do
it
miss
is.
him. I do miss Envy. I do miss Envy, Joe.
Yeah, for real.
Digging in the crates,
They in a crate.
Joe.
Twins, Joe.
You got another one?
Man, this dude, I know he dropped a project. I want to say early 2024 or really, really late 2023 was the last project he dropped. But to be deemed the heir apparent to Andre 3000 and then poof, none other than Bobby Ray himself, Mr. B.O.B. That's my other guy. Love this dude. How do you describe a B.O.B. lyric? This dude was the #1 draft pick that got hurt after his rookie year. That's how I describe a B.O.B. Not saying he didn't have success. He just didn't have the career surrounded by the draft pick, if that makes sense. To me, where I thought all bets were off was play the guitar with him and Andre on the same song. Whoa. Right? I can't even, there are not words to describe how that song came out. It's exactly what you imagine it to be. Andre 3000 was at the pinnacle of being Andre 3000, and B.O.B., it wasn't no Batman and Robin situation. It was definitely a Batman, Superman kind of thing. They both were, that song's fire. Listen to it for yourself. I thought at that point, all bets were off. You can say the leadership of his management group might have held him back because that same management group, young Dro never really became what we hoped him to be. But I don't want to blame it on that. Sometimes your skill level is your skill level. Me personally, I think the comparisons to Andre, man, got to him. It was too much to live up to. And so every song you make is compared to one of the greatest lyricists of all time. It's hard. And some people are not built for that. You know what I'm saying? What'd you think about B.O.B., man?
I like B.O.B. too when he came out, man. He had the still in this bitch. Wasn't that him? We still in this bitch?
We still in this bitch.
Okay. Yeah, we still in this bitch, and I like that song, man. That was one of the early songs he had that I was really feeling. But yeah, that play the guitar song with Three
Wow.
Stacks, man. That was another good one. I thought the same thing too. I had heard some of the stuff he had did like earlier this year, I think, B.O.B. It's not really the same, you know, he's moving into different areas that, you know, not really for me. And, you know, God bless him. I hope he does well in whatever he's doing.
Just give me Adventures of Bobby Ray Part 2. Just give me that. Give me that.
It's always tough for artists, you know, because they make these albums in certain points of their life and they're feeling certain ways. So they're thinking certain ways and they make those albums and you really enjoy it, but they move on. You know, they move on in their lives and they change and you can't get back to that because that's just the way life works. But there are certain,
Give me a flute album. I'm cool.
not the flute, B, not the flute, B.
If he give me a harp album or B.O.B plays the harmonica for 16 tracks.
Let's see, my last one was, I don't want it to be a sad one because it's the Lost Boyz.
Oh,
I love the It's another 90s group, man, that I love so much. I know they just did an EP this year, but without the sad part, without saying the sad part, it's not the same.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not the same without him, man, because he really was a big part of that group. But those guys had some crazy hits in their era, man. Legal Drug Money and Love, Peace, and Happiness are 90s classics. Those were
Yes,
some of them. Those were among the best albums of the 90s. They were definitely
Indeed.
classics in their era.
Indeed.
Because
Cheeks, man.
Renee, Lifestyles of the Rich and Shameless.
Shameless.
Music Makes Me High. Lex Coops, Beamers and the Benz.
Yes.
Beast from the East with Cannabis.
Have you ever been in a zone like you were when you first heard Music Makes Me High? Was there ever a song to describe the vibe we was on in that period? In that lately, was there ever a song to really describe the vibe like that? From the beat?
Has anybody ever done Renee again?
No,
They've tried. People have tried.
And that's why it was never
Renee
a part two. Yeah, that's a one of one. Yeah, that's a one of one.
A lot of people have tried. A lot of people have tried to duplicate that with their own stories, and that's a hard one to measure up to, man.
Yeah, he killed that for sure. That man. I leave there. You got me want to hear that whole joint right now. Like I'm finna get in the crate. You know what I'm saying? You got me ready to spin the block on that for real. Love that album, man.
Oh, that'll do it for this episode of Books, Rhymes, and Life for my man Big Abosoloot. I'm telling y'all to go ahead and smash that like and subscribe button. If there are any of these rappers that you want to talk about, put them down in the comments. So let us know who they are. We love to hear about it. We love taking a stroll down a memory lane. We'll catch you next episode, man. Thank you for being there. Be good, y'all.
Books, Rhymes, and Life.